In the heart of Kyiv, on a bitter winter morning in 1946, the city stands still, as if time itself has paused to witness what's coming. A gallows looms in Kalinin Square, its 12 nooses swaying faintly in the icy breeze, a grim symbol of the horrors that have scarred this land. The air buzzes with tension, heavy with the weight of history. As thousands gather, their breath visible in the cold, their eyes lock on the ropes that promise a brutal form of justice. This isn't just an execution. It's a reckoning for the atrocities of Babyn Yar, a place where the cries of 33,000 murdered souls still echo through the years. Welcome to Through the Ages, where we dig deep into history's raw, unfiltered truths. Before we dive into this chilling tale of retribution, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a story that others tried to bury. Let's step back to where it all began 4 years earlier in the autumn of 1941. The Nazi occupation of Kyiv is in full swing, a city already battered by war now facing a new terror. The SS and police units move with cold precision, sealing off the Jewish quarter. Families are torn from their homes, parents clutching children, elderly gripping prayer shawls, others carrying little more than the clothes on their backs. They're marched through the streets, a procession of fear and confusion, toward a steep ravine on the city's edge known as Babyn Yar. For 36 relentless hours, the gunfire never stops. When the echoes finally fade, 33,000 Jewish men, women, and children lie dead, their bodies tangled in the mud and fallen leaves. It's the deadliest single-day massacre of the war, a wound carved deep into the soul of Ukraine. But Babyn Yar wasn't a one-day horror. Over the following days and months, the ravine became a killing ground again and again. Roma families, Soviet prisoners of war, Ukrainian nationalists, anyone the Nazis deemed unworthy of life, were brought here, shot, and tossed into the earth. The perpetrators worked with chilling efficiency, turning the site into a mass grave that swallowed tens of thousands more. The air hung heavy with the smell of gunpowder and death, and for those living nearby, the sounds of those days seeped into their nightmares, a constant reminder of the cruelty unfolding just beyond their windows. Amid this nightmare, one woman defied the odds. Dina Pronicheva, a young actress with a spirit that refused to break, found herself among the victims that first day. As bullets tore through the crowd, she fell, pretending to be dead, her body pressed beneath the weight of others. Her ribs cracked under the pressure, her lungs burned for air, but she held still, even as the warmth of those around her faded. When night fell and the soldiers moved on, she clawed her way out of the ravine, her hands caked with dirt and blood, her mind racing with the terror she'd escaped. She stumbled through the darkness, evading patrols, hiding in shadows, until she reached safety. Dina's survival wasn't just luck. It was a quiet act of rebellion, a spark of life that refused to be snuffed out. Years later, her story would become a weapon, her voice a call for justice that would resonate far beyond that ravine. The men who orchestrated this slaughter didn't all vanish with the war's end. 15 of them, police commanders, platoon sergeants, an army interpreter, thought they could outrun their crimes. As the Third Reich collapsed, they scattered across Europe, hiding in plain sight. Some holed up in Czech barns, others slipped into Austrian villages with forged papers, and one even landed in an American POW camp, believing he'd escaped judgment. But the Red Army had other plans. Soviet intelligence hunted them down, piecing together their trails through interrogations, captured documents, and whispers from liberated towns. The NKVD, the Soviet secret police, compiled their sins in thick, blood-stained dossiers, orders signed in haste, eyewitness accounts of their brutality, lists of the dead they left behind. Among them was Paul von Scheer, a name that stood out even in this gallery of monsters. He'd been a linchpin in the Babyn Yar killings, a man who gave orders with a calm that chilled even his fellow officers. His capture was a triumph, a signal that no one would escape the reckoning. In Kyiv's House of Officers, a grand building turned courtroom, the Soviet tribunal begins. 3 colonels sit in judgment, their faces carved from stone, while 2 prosecutors lay out the case with unrelenting detail. Survivors step forward to speak. Farmers who watched their villages burn, partisans bearing scars from battles in the forests, and Dina Pronicheva, her voice steady despite the weight of her memories. She tells the room, "I stumbled over warm bodies. I heard soldiers laugh as they reloaded. Her words hang in the air, cutting through the silence like a blade." For 3 weeks, the evidence piles up. Transport lists detailing the doomed, execution ledgers tallying the dead, decoded radio messages barking orders, and grainy photographs pulled from a German quartermaster's footlocker. Images of bodies stacked like firewood, of men in uniforms grinning beside the ravine. The defendants sit, some staring blankly, others fidgeting under the gaze of the crowd. On January 26th, the verdict lands like a hammer. 12 will hang, 3 will toil in labor camps. Paul von Scheer hears his fate last: death. In public. The room doesn't erupt. It freezes, as if the weight of that decision sinks into every soul present. That night, the city shifts. Trucks rumble into Kalinin Square, unloading oak beams that gleam faintly in the moonlight. Carpenters work quickly, erecting a 6-meter crossbeam drilled for 12 ropes. The newspapers scream the news: fascists to face retribution. By dawn, the square is alive with people. Housewives with mugs of kvass, workers in patched coats, children perched on shoulders, all drawn to witness what's coming. Some are here for justice, others for closure. A few just to see the end of men who'd haunted their lives. The square, once a place for markets and laughter, now stands transformed, its cobblestones cold beneath the shadow of the gallows. As the sun rises, a hush falls over the crowd. Soviet infantry line the edges, rifles at the ready, as 3 lorries roll in. 12 men stand in the truck beds, their coats marked Wojenny Plenny, prisoner of war. They're a mix of gaunt faces and hollow eyes, some stepping down with steady legs, others trembling so hard their shackles clank like broken bells. Paul von Scheer is among them, his officer's cap in hand, his gaze sweeping the crowd for a mercy that doesn't exist. Each man carries a story. Fritz Beckenhoff, a low-ranking thug who'd killed with glee. Karl Burkhardt, whose name was whispered in fear even by his own men. Georg Heinisch, a sergeant who'd followed orders without a flicker of doubt. Now they face the consequences, their pasts stripped bare under the winter sky. A quick pause. If Dina's courage or this moment of reckoning grabs you, smash that like button and drop a comment. Your support keeps these stories alive. A Red Army major steps forward, his voice cutting through the silence as he reads the names. After each one, the crowd answers with a roar. Kara! Punishment! Fritz Beckenhoff climbs the steps first, his jaw tight. A guard slips the rope around his neck, no hood to shield his face. A whistle pierces the air, the trapdoor drops, and his boots swing above the snow-dusted planks. Karl Burkhardt goes next, then Georg Heinisch. each fall met with a ripple of gasps. Emil Knoll stumbles, his spectacles tumbling into the crowd as the rope jerks tight. 8 more follow, the beam creaking under the weight of their bodies. Von Scheer is last. Hisses rise from the crowd like steam, a wave of anger breaking free. He mutters something, words swallowed by the wind, and steps onto the trap. It falls. Silence blankets the square. Cinema crews swarm the scene, their lenses capturing every angle. By tomorrow, the reels will flicker in Moscow and Leningrad theaters, titled Kyiv's Retribution, a stark message etched in black and white. Western journalists scribble furiously, torn between the spectacle and the question of what justice really means. The footage isn't just record, it's propaganda, a Soviet flex of power beamed to friend and foe alike. Why this public theater of death? Stalin wants more than punishment. He wants proof. Nazi crimes on Soviet soil will meet Soviet wrath, not the slow debates of Nuremberg. It's a signal to collaborators still hiding in the shadows. 12 swaying shadows are your fate. For Ukraine, a land that lost 6 million civilians to the war, the gallows offer something a courtroom never could: a visceral, tangible closure. The decision wasn't made lightly. Stalin's regime saw this as a way to cement its authority, to show the world that the Soviet Union would not bend under the weight of such evil. To the people of Kyiv, it was personal. Every rope a thread tying them to the loved ones they'd lost. The next day, Minsk follows suit, hanging 14 more. A pattern takes shape across Soviet lands. Swift trials, public executions, no quarter given. The West murmurs of vengeance, uneasy with the rawness of it all. Soviet headlines proclaim it law, a necessary cleansing of their soil. This isn't a one-off. It's a campaign, a purge of Nazi taint meant to echo through the years. By dusk, soldiers cut the bodies down, load them onto carts, and haul them to an unmarked pit beyond the city. Kalinin Square is swept clean, the snow hiding the last traces of blood. But Babyn Yar remains silent, its scars buried under decades of neglect. A dump, then a sports field, its mass graves unmarked. It's not until 1961 that poet Yevgeny Yevtushenko forces the truth into the open with his words. No monument stands over Babyn Yar. His poem shakes the Soviet conscience, demanding they face the specific targeting of Jews, the erasure of their memory. For Kyiv, the execution was a moment of release, a heavy exhale after years of holding their breath. But the ravine's ghosts linger, a reminder that some wounds cut too deep to heal. Dina Pronicheva is there that day, watching from the crowd, her face hidden beneath a headscarf. Later, she confides to a friend, "Justice felt heavy, like a stone lifted. But the ravine still screams in my dreams." Her survival, her testimony, had helped bring this moment to pass, yet the weight of what she'd seen never left her. She carries Babyn Yar with her, a burden no gallows could lighten. As the crowd thins out, the wind picks up, carrying the day's echoes away. Was this justice or was it vengeance? The answer blurs in the shadow of those ropes. For the survivors, for Dina, it's a reckoning, a line drawn in the snow. But history teaches us that the scars of war and genocide don't fade with a single act. The execution of these 12 men stands as a stark monument to hatred's price, a chapter closed, but never fully resolved. This moment in Kyiv, January 1946, ripples far beyond that square. It's a piece of a larger story, one that stretches from the war's end to the decades of silence that followed. The Soviet Union framed it as triumph, a cleansing of evil from their land. To the people of Kyiv, it was more, a chance to face the men who'd stolen so much, to see them answer for it with their lives. Internationally, it sparked debate. Some saw it as righteous, a fitting end for monsters. Others winced at its brutality, questioning if justice could wear such a theatrical mask. The reels played on, the headlines faded, but the questions lingered. The memory of Babyn Yar itself became a battleground. For years, the Soviet government downplayed its Jewish toll, folding it into the broader narrative of wartime loss. Yevtushenko's poem in 1961 was a rebellion against that silence, a cry that forced people to look again at what happened there. Dina's story, too, grew larger with time. Her survival a symbol of resilience, her words a bridge between the dead and the living. This execution wasn't just about those 12 men. It was about a nation clawing its way out of darkness, about a people demanding to be heard. It sent a message to the world. The Soviet Union would not forget, would not forgive. Yet it also laid bare the messy truth of justice after war, how it can heal and haunt in equal measure. For the families of Babyn Yar's victims, the gallows were a fleeting victory, a moment when the scales tipped, if only slightly, toward balance. As we stand back from this story, it's clear that the past doesn't stay buried. The events of 1946 in Kyiv are a mirror, reflecting the cost of hatred and the struggle to make things right. They remind us why we tell these tales, not just to remember, but to learn. The gallows may be gone, the square swept clean, but the lessons of Babyn Yar and its aftermath endure, urging us to face the truths we'd rather forget. Subscribe to Through the Ages to keep these stories alive, and share this one with someone who needs to hear it. The past isn't gone. It's waiting for us to listen. Stay curious, and let's keep its truths burning bright.